So this is where we left off. Had an okay time at the dentist. Wasn't too bad. So the next thing I want to do is Jack's head and adjusting the camera here and limited region as well. So I'm going to copy this layer, go to the body, copy Jack's body and paste it over Jack's head. Now I'm going to go into color and just replace all layers here with the layer that we copied before. And yeah, lowering the opacity a little bit and rendering to see what we have right now. And yeah, maybe I can just add multiply blending option to see what's happening there. And really, you know, when you have a black and white image, it's really not much difference, just a little bit difference there. I can see a little bit difference there. And now I'm using this same layer, the color layer, and use it for bump. And increase layer opacity and blending mode, put to normal. And this is the result. Maybe a bit too strong. Okay. Just thinking about wanted to have this a little bit blacker. And right now, when we're so zoomed in, these grooves can really, you know, are really visible. But when we go a bit further with the camera, they're not going to be so visible. So I wanted to have that a little bit stronger, and also to increase its specularity that we see in the eyes. We kind of to have that a little bit stronger. And we see here the difference. So usually, you know, if you want the specularity to be a bit more visible, just increasing it, you know, is okay. But if you decrease the value for glossiness, then you're really going to have that specular spot spread out even more and become more visible. And the next thing I want to work on is the Jack color. And again, copying the bow tie texture. But before that, don't forget to copy the layer of the color that you have with the color UV map and the color with the Jack color image. And once I rendered that out, it felt a little bit too messy. Wanted to tidy those lines up a little bit. There was too much discoloration happening there. And one thing I'm thinking about doing is adding one procedural texture on top of this. For this, you know, right now it's still a bit too black. This black, you know, is just perfect black. Wanted to add a little bit of more discoloration to the suit itself. And like I did before, just changing the color into red so I really get an idea of what's happening. And right now our resolution is pretty high, and that's why it takes a bit longer to render these test renders. And still adjusting the scale a little bit. And that's about what I wanted to get. And now just to adjust the color as well. And we want this change to be subtle, but visible. And we can go from one layer to another just to see the difference. Making still some tweaks there. All of these changes are pretty small, but again, God is in the details. So we can definitely see the difference between what we have and what we had. And yeah, some color is there, something is happening. It's not perfect black. And adding a little bit of dented as well. Right now it's too big. And I'm using dented just to add smaller patches of discoloration. Right now turbulence is kind of spreading into bigger discolorations. And we can see that turbulence will give us a bit more contained, smaller patches of different colors. And using multiply here just to multiply to the layers beneath dented. And whether which blending mode is the best, it's just a matter of trying out. And yeah, we can see here that this Photoshop Lightning is good, just the opacity is a bit too strong. And yeah, it's a subtle difference, but adds a little bit of variation to the color. And I want to apply this also to the bow tie and on jacket body as well. And might be a bit too strong. Maybe even 20% is too much. I'm going to lower that, lowering it to 10%, and applying this change to also jacket body and jacket color. I didn't want it to be. I just wanted it to be like a subtle difference. Liking what I'm getting there, so I wanted to also use it on the cat. Basically, just to add some subtle difference. And yeah, happy with that. And now going to texture the arms. And just pasting what we had there and replacing just the color layer. So we have our bright color for the arms. And yeah, I had to get the left arm in the camera view. And right now, it looks a little bit too strong, this color difference. But this is really close up. We want these variations, these little color dirts, to be seen when we zoom out as well. We don't want them to be too subtle. And adding a little, procedural texture in the specularity as well, just to break up the specularity a little bit. And yeah, that's something that I want to use also on the other layers. So this kind of texture, this texture of the body of the jacket is kind of progressing as we go along, and want to propagate those changes throughout the textures. And it's kind of a growing, growing process. Just I'm kind of discovering this with you, adding a little bit changes. And once I rendered that out, I was pretty happy with it. But still felt the texture was just a little bit too strong. These variations needed to be adjusted just a little bit more. So zoomed in back, rendered out one frame just so we know where we started from. And no need to wait for such a big render. We can only render a part. And yeah, going into the surface of the left arm, and just going to play a little bit with this discoloration, and increase this layer opacity. Should do it for us. So this is what we have now, and I like it a lot better like this. It's a bit more subtle. We still kept those breakings in the lines. I like those. Just this discoloration was a little bit too strong. The white line was a little bit too gritty. And that's the change. Again, propagating through all of the textures that we did before. And quick render of the new texture. Increase the size a little bit of our image, and increasing the anti-aliasing just to have a better view of what we have. And yeah, very happy with that. And I'm just noticing this cat a bit too black and a bit too still, a bit too polished out. So I wanted to add also, like we did with the jacket, wanted to add a little bit of more discoloration to it. So I'm increasing the layer opacity of the procedural textures that we have there. And also the specularity can be a little bit more broken up. And I'm copying the layers that we had in jacket body and going to paste it in the specular settings for the cat. And increase the specularity a little bit more. And yeah, that looks better. I wanted to change just one more thing to increase the dented size to 200 millimeters, and that is that. And wanted to play with the cat size just a little bit more. Still kind of felt, with monocolor as well. wanted to add just a little bit of grittiness to it. It's kind of, I find Jack's character to be, opposite from polished. He's, the Pumpkin King, and everything is kind of, a little bit, should have a little bit of wear and tear, and kind of give some life to it. So I'm just adding a little bit of texture there, just to break that feeling of brand new. Nothing for me about this character speaks, like brand new. It's all about, dirtying things up a little bit. So I wanted to avoid this monocolor feel, like everything is perfectly buffed out and perfectly clean, without going too much into it. We should be mindful. This is going to take fairly little real estate on our final rendered image. So just a quick visit, to add a bit more discoloration there. And yeah, now we have to color the right arm, and perfecting that surface as we went along, which is okay. It's kind of a breeding process, and the more you do, the more you work on it, the better you see, when it's applied on bigger surfaces. You see the texture. And we should never be afraid, to follow where our intuition takes us, and to change things as we go. So going back to the button texture, it is in the shadow, and it's a little bit too flat. So I just added a little bit of reflection to add a bit more dimension to it. And these hands looked a little bit too shiny. I wanted to break the specular up a little bit. Wanted to add a bit more discoloration to them. So just going in there and playing a little bit with the specularity, adding one more layer of alpha layer on there. And these differences are, again, not huge, but I just wanted to add a bit more color variation in there. So just playing with the surface a little bit more with the color and specularity layer. And also the body as well. It's basically the same surface. So just adding more color, and we wanted to make it subtle. Don't want it to be too huge. And yeah, happy with that. Next thing I wanted to texture is the pants, and again, doing the same thing, copying the color layer of the pants, so we can replace it once we copy left arm surface over the pants. And yeah, pretty good. Maybe just this for the pants. This discoloration was just a little bit too big. So just went and turned off those layers to see what we are getting. And yeah, like it like that. And although all of these surfaces are, pretty much similar, each one of those, does require a little bit of custom tailoring. And as far as the shoes go, they were a bit too white, and I also wanted to get the shape of the shoe out with some specularity. And these are just basic black shoes, not much philosophy to it. So again, adding some specularity. And adding a very, very small bump to the shoe, just to break up the specularity a little bit. Right now, we immediately see that layer opacity needs to be adjusted. And yeah, pretty good. Like that. I just wanted to increase glossiness just a little bit. And maybe decrease specularity. And yeah. As far as the tail front goes, just going to paste again the left arm surface onto the tail front. And as far as the tail back goes, it's kind of velvety surface, leathery surface. And for the tail back, going to add some specularity to it, and glossiness really low, so we get that big specular spot. And wanted to add a really grainy bump to it, really small 10 millimeter bump to it. And I'm always leaving bump's opacity to 100%, just so we have a clear picture of what we have, and we can always decrease opacity if we see that it's too strong. And now it's just a matter of a couple of renders and small tweaks to the settings of the specularity, glossiness, and bump layers. So I'm just playing with the specularity here using a gradient just to give it kind of that leathery but also a little bit of a velvety feeling to it. And right now I'm increasing our resolution just to get a better view of what we have. So each tweak and each test render brings us closer to where we want to be. And once I was happy with that surface, I wanted to do a render of the whole scene. And yeah, it's looking very, very good. And yeah, perfect spot to end our session. And in the next session, we're going to add finishing touches to our image.